Alright, boys and girls, welcome to this very scary video on lesson 3-1. It's scary because it is Halloween. Okay, we are going to be solving quadratic equations. When we say solve, we're finding the answer for x. We're finding the answer for x. Okay, and we're going to do actually 3 little mini lessons today. One on graphing, solving by graphing, solving by taking square roots, and solving by factoring. And when we solve, there are other ways to call our answers for x. So we can call x equals our answers. We can also call them our solutions. We can call them zeros, or we can call them our x-intercepts. Okay, the first method we're going to do is steps to solving a quadratic equation by graphing. Our steps are going to be 1, we're going to find ordered pairs that are true for the function. That is, we're going to make a t-chart. Okay, we probably want to first start by finding our vertex, and our vertex, of course, if it's in standard form, is x equals negative b over 2a. We're then going to graph the parabola, and our solutions are going to be our zeros, which of course are our x-intercepts, where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, let's solve our first equation here. 0 is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. We notice it's a quadratic equation because, yes, we have an x squared. First thing we're going to do is find our vertex. Remember, on our vertex, we're going to do x is equal to negative b over 2a. That's going to give us our x coordinate for our vertex. Well, looking up here, our a, of course, is 1. Our b is 2. And our c is negative 3, negatory 3. So negative b is going to be negative 2. Let me get my marker back. Negative 2 over 2 times 1. 2 times a is 2 times 1, which is 2. So our x coordinate for our vertex is negative 1. We're now going to write that right here, negative 1. I'm going to go above a couple of places, so let's go to 0, and let's go to 1, and let's also go down to negative 2 and negative 3. Okay, we throw these into our equation. Let's throw 1 in. So up here I got 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 3. So 1 squared is 1, plus 2 times 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 minus 3, of course, is 0. So when I have x is 1, y is 0. When x is 0, I have 0 squared plus 0. So again, I got 0 squared plus 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 minus 3 is negative 3. When x is negative 1, I got, let me get my pointer back, negative 1 squared is 1. 1 plus 2 times negative 1, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1, minus 3 is negative 4. So x is negative 4. You guys go ahead and find our last 2 coordinates for x is neg 2 and x is neg 3. Okay, you should have found that for when x is negative 2, you have a y of negative 3. When x is negative 3, you have a y of 0. Notice here at our vertex, we have x equals negative 1 and y equals negative 4. That's our vertex. And notice now our axis of symmetry is that x equals negative 1. And so these 2 answers should be the same, and these 2 answers should be the same. If we had done 2 and negative 4, those 2 answers would also be the same. Let's plot our points. I have 1 comma 0. That's going to be right here. I have 0 comma neg 3. That's right here. I have negative 1, negative 4. That's right here. Negative 2, neg 3. That's right here. And I have negative 3, 0. That, of course, is right here. Here's my parabola. Okay, my axis of symmetry, of course, is at negative 1. That's a line right going down right here. Okay, and my most important now, my solutions are here at negative negative 3, and at 1. So my final answers are x equals negative 3 and 1. Okay, let's do this guy right here. Y equals x squared minus 7x plus 10. Remember, we're solving when y is equal to 0, so if you want, we can think of it this as being a 0 right here, but we're going to try to find our x-intercepts. Notice now that my a is 1, my b is neg 7, and my c, of course, is 10. Let's find our vertex first. Our vertex is going to be, for the x-coordinate, is negative b over 2a. So I have negative 7 over 2 times 1, which of course now is 7 over 2, which is 3.5. Because our vertex is a fraction, let's not even worry about our vertex, 3.5. Okay, because it's really not that important to find the coordinate of the vertex, but we're looking for the x-intercepts. But let's go above 3.5. Let's go 4, 5, and 6. And let's go below 3, 2. We're in a room here. 1. You guys stop the tape right now and fill in our values for x when x is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, you should have found when x is 6, y is 4. When x is 5, y is 0. Ding, ding, ding. 5, that's a 0 right there. X is 5. 4 is neg 2. We don't worry about the vertex because it's a fraction. Don't want to mess with that. When x is 3, y is neg 2. When x is 2, y is 0. There's a 0. And when x is 1, y is once again 4. We can see, sure enough, our axis of symmetry is at our vertex. So let's plot those points. We'll do it in red. 6, 4 is going to be right here. 5, 0 is right here. 4, neg 2 is right here. 3, neg 2 is right here. 2, 0 is right here. 1, 4 is right here. And of course we know our y-intercept is our c value. That's up here at 10. Our parabola looks something like this. And most important now, our roots are at x equals 2 and x equals 5, x equals 2 or 5. And there is our answer. Okay, method number 2. Watch out for those witches. They're coming to my door getting some candy. So, steps to solving quadratics by square roots. Method number 2. We solve the equation for the squared term. In other words, get the squared term by itself. Get the x squared by itself. We then take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus or minus. And if we need to, solve that squared term. Solve that for x. Let's watch. Let's do one. Okay, on this first one right here, x squared is equal to 9. Notice that our x squared term is by itself, so we're just going to simply take the square root of both sides. Square root of x squared and the square root of 9. The square root of x squared, of course, is x. The square root of 9 is 3, and just don't forget now it's plus or minus. So therefore, x equals plus or minus 3, x equals positive 3, or x equals negative 3. On this one right here, we'll let you guys do this one by yourselves, but the first thing you're going to do is get the x squared by itself, so subtract 5 from both sides. Okay, I was just chasing the ghosts away. We got x squared plus 5 is 9. I subtracted 5 from both sides, so I get x squared is equal to 4. Therefore, I take the square root of both sides. The square root of x is 4. I'm sorry, the square root of x squared is x. And the square root of 4 is plus or minus the square root of 4. Well, the square root of 4, of course, is 2. So x equals 2 or negatory 2. Okay, on this guy right here, we got x minus 5 squared is equal to 9. Again, our x minus 5 squared, our squared term, is already by itself. So we're going to quite simply just take the square root of both sides. Ooh, there was a masked man just running through my house. So x minus 5, the square root of that is x minus 5. and that's equal to the plus or minus, don't forget that plus or minus, the square root of 9, which of course is 3. So now I have x minus 5 is equal to 3, or x minus 5 is equal to negative 3. So we're going to solve both of those for x by adding 5 to both sides. X equals 3 plus 5, which is 8, or I add 5 to both sides. X equals negative 3 plus 5, which of course is positive 2. There is my answer. You guys try this next one. Don't forget to solve for the x for the squared term first. So we're going to add the 27 to both sides. Go ahead and solve that for x. Okay, on this one right here, you should have gotten x is 8 or x is negative 4. We added the 27 to both sides, so you get x minus 2 squared is equal to 36. Take the square root of both sides. Square root of x minus 2 squared, of course, is x minus 2. Square root of 36 is plus or minus. Plus or minus, square root of 36 is 6. So therefore now we have x minus 2 is 6. Add the 2's to both sides, we get 8. Or x minus 2 is equal to negatory 6. Add the 2 to both sides, and we get negative 4. Negative 6 plus 2 is negatory 4. Last but not least, in our Halloween special on solving quadratics, we're going to do method number 3, which is factoring. You learn this in Algebra 1 and Algebra 1. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put the equation in standard form. In other words, set the equation to 0. We're going to factor, and then we set each factor to 0 and solve each factor for x. So let's do one. I have x squared minus x is equal to 12. First thing I'm going to do is set this equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. I get x squared minus x minus 12 is equal to 0. Let's factor right here. I have x squared minus x minus 12. The factor pairs of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. The factor pairs that have a difference of 1 are 3 and 4. So we're going to factor this now as x minus 4, x plus 3. Therefore now, x minus 4 equals 0, or x plus 3 equals 0. I add the 4 to both sides. X equals 4, or I subtract 3 from both sides. X equals negative 3. You guys try this last one right here by yourselves, and I'll be right back and go deal with my trick-or-treaters. Okay, as we look at this second one right here, first thing I did is I subtracted the 4 from both sides, so I get x squared minus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. Let's factor this guy right here. So I'm doing some trinomial factoring. I get x minus 4 and x plus 1 is equal to 0. I get x equals 4 now, add 4 to both sides, or I get x equals negatory 1. I had subtracted 1 from both sides, so there are my answers. Okay, looking at this guy right here, let's set this equal to 0 first by subtracting 14 from both sides. I get 4x squared minus 8x. 18 minus 14 is positive 4, that's equal to 0. And now, before I factor, let's make my life much easier. I'm looking at that, and I can factor a 4 out of each term, so let's just divide each term by 4. And I can do that, of course, because 0 divided by 4 is still 0. So I'm going to get x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Go ahead and factor that puppy. Alrighty, dighty. We're all set here. I get x squared minus 2x plus 1. That factors to x minus 1. X minus 1 is equal to 0. So we have a duplicate factor, no problem. Just we get x minus 1 is equal to 0. Add 1 to both sides, and x equals 1. Whoa! Ghost. Okay, last one. 4x squared minus 11x minus 3 is equal to 0. I'm not going to do this one for you. I'm going to let you guys do this one. This is a little bit tougher factoring because we have a 4 in front of our x squared, so here we have 4x squared. So we're going to do a trinomial factoring with a number in front of the x squared. First 5 people to email me with the correct answer for x. You must email me with the correct answer for x. I need an x equals 2 answers. Okay? We'll get a bonus point on the next test and quiz. If you need help with factoring, please let me know. I have some videos and I have some practice that we can do, but you need to know how to factor in order to solve on a quadratic equation by factoring. Hey, that's it, folks. Have a great night. Have a great Halloween, and we shall see you soon.